Good evening. Thanks for joining us on India Business Hour. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. The Sensex and the Nifty declined for the seventh straight session after a volatile day of trade. Mid-caps and bank stocks outperform the two indices. Gold and silver touch record highs once again as the demand for safe haven buying remains strong. Silver outpaces gold in 2025. Brent crude prices ease after touching the $70 mark. President Trump is set to hold last-ditch negotiations to avoid a government shutdown. He will meet top congressional leaders later today with 72 hours to go for the deadline. Stock markets in the U.S. tread with caution. From electronics to furniture to now movies, President Trump fires fresh tariff threats. Reuters reports the White House is considering tariffs on foreign electronic devices based on the number of chips in each of them. Trump announces a 100% tariff on all movies made outside of the U.S., also threatens tariffs on furniture made outside the U.S. Tata Capital and WeWork announce IPO pricing as the rush to go public intensifies. More than 73 companies have listed on the Lal Street so far this year, raising more than 1 lakh crore rupees cumulatively. The oil ministry flags low valuation of enterprise under its wing, promises performance-linked pay for top executives and price stability, rules out levies like the windfall tax, and plans value unlocking through disinvestment. Jaguar and Land Rover gets the British government's guarantee on loans worth £1.5 billion to protect its supply chain. The automaker's factories have been forced to shut down for nearly a month after a cyber attack. The death toll after a stampede at actor-turned-politician Vijay's rally in Tamil Nadu rises to 41. Vijay's party moves the High Court alleging sabotage. Chief Minister Stalin says new rules will be framed for holding public events. The Finance Minister meets the families of the victims. Elon Musk's social media platform X will challenge the Karnataka High Court verdict upholding the government's power to order the removal of content. The company says it will move the Supreme Court to defend freedom of expression. And as the festive season begins across India, nearly 1 million gig jobs open up. But for many gig workers, it means longer working hours, lower pay and no safety net. A special report coming up. Well, let's start with the day's market action. A volatile day of trade today. We saw the Sensex and the Nifty finally closing in the red but flat. Negative bias, but only a slight one. Both indices ending lower for the seventh straight session. The Nifty closing below the 24,700 mark. Absolutely flat close for both the Sensex and the Nifty. The mid-cap index closing just about in positive territory and 70 points higher there on the Nifty Bank. That's the story for our markets. But gold prices hitting a record high yet again. This as safe haven demand was boosted by concerns over a potential U.S. government shutdown this week. Silver prices, meanwhile, continue to outpace gold. President Trump will meet top Republican and Democratic leaders in Congress in an attempt to hold last-ditch negotiations to avoid a government shutdown by the 1st of October. The government will face a partial shutdown unless lawmakers can agree on a federal spending bill. Back home, IPO Street is abuzz. Tata Capital has set a price band of 310 to 326 rupees a share for its 15,000 crore rupee IPO. The date of subscription has been scheduled for the 6th of October. It's the largest IPO of 2025 so far. It will comprise of a fresh issue and an offer for sale component. And co-working company WeWork India has set a price range of 615 to 648 rupees per share for its upcoming IPO. The subscription will open on the 3rd of October. The company is looking to raise about 3,000 crore rupees purely via the offer for sale route. And more on IPOs. More than 70 companies have gone public so far in 2025, raising more than 1 lakh crore rupees. But a majority of the large offers are now trading below the IPO price. Hormuz is here with the IPO report card. Hormuz, 2025 has been record-breaking in many ways. But how are the IPOs faring post-listing?
It almost seems like somebody has opened the floodgates when it comes to the IPO market, and we've had 73 IPOs so far. But if you take a look at that, a third of them have just come in the month of September. And this, I'm not counting the one that opens tomorrow, which is the final day of the month. So that will take the total tally to 25 IPOs that have opened in the month of September already. Now, it's not as if the markets are doing really great and hence there is a rush to go public to capitalize on the healthy market sentiment, you take a look at the calendar year quarter, which is the January to March period when the Nifty struggled. We had 9 IPOs. Now, in fact, in the month of March, we did not have a single IPO. Now, in the second quarter, after making the tariff lows, the market saw some bit of recovery. The primary activity picked up. And in the third quarter, which is the July to September period, when the markets are actually down 3%, the number of IPOs is almost half a century, which is 50 IPOs, which includes the one that will open tomorrow. So that will like 50 IPOs in the third quarter itself. Now, you take a look at the size as well. Now, a majority of these IPOs that have opened so far, around 73, 74 odd, majority, that is 35 of them, are priced below 500 crore rupees. The mega ones, of course, one is HDB Financial and the Tata Capital IPO, which opens, that is one of them. And the 1,000 to 5,000 crore bit has around 18 names. Then the 500 to 1,000 crore bit has more than 20 names. Now, the bigger takeaway is the fact that bigger the IPO size does not guarantee you big returns. Now, 3 out of the 5 IPOs, the largest ones this year so far, are trading below their IPO price. In fact, HDB Financial, the largest of the year, had even slipped below its IPO price in intraday trading before a brief recovery from the lows. And NSDL is the only standout here, 49% above its IPO price and also significantly below its post-listing high. Now, there is a flurry of IPOs that are still upcoming. You spoke of WeWork, you spoke of Tata Capital. We heard from the management of Prestige Estates recently. They said that if all goes to plan, the Prestige Hospitality IPO comes up pretty soon. There is a PhysicsWallah IPO lined up. There is a LG Electronics lined up and a Hero FinCorp lined up as well. So it's not as if the IPO rush is over anytime soon. We still have major ones lined up in the future as well.
Armas, many thanks. Global stories. U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick has hit out at India once again. Lutnick included India's name in a list of countries he claimed U.S. needs to fix, quote unquote. In an interview, Lutnick said countries like India, Switzerland and Brazil need to react correctly to America, open their markets and stop taking actions that harm America. He added that India needs to play ball with President Trump if they want to be able to sell to the American consumer. That's the U.S. Commerce Secretary. Now, the Trump administration is considering the imposition of tariffs on foreign electronic devices based on the number of chips in each one. Reuters is reporting that the Commerce Department will impose a tariff equal to a percentage of the estimated value of the product's chip content. If implemented, the plan will impact a wide range of consumer products, from electronic toothbrushes to laptops. And that's not all. President Trump has announced 100% tariffs on all movies made outside of the United States. In a post on Truth Social, Trump said, and I quote, "Our movie-making business has been stolen from the United States of America by other countries, just like stealing candy from a baby. California, with its weak and incompetent governor, has been particularly hard hit," end of quote. Shilpa joins us now with more. Shilpa, what is the likely impact on the Indian film industry?
Well, Shireen, we're yet to see the fine print on how this could be imposed. But first, this was spoken about, if you remember, back in May. And now he has imposed a 100% tariff on any and all movies that are made outside the U.S., outside of the United States of America. Now, if you look at it, U.S. is actually a very big overseas market for the Indian filmmakers. And, what this could mean for Indian producers and their business models, we have to see the fine print. But about 30 to 40% of overseas collections of any movies actually come from the U.S. And this number is much bigger for the South. For Telugu films, for instance, nearly a quarter of the box office collections actually comes from the U.S. as a market. And for some big-ticket movies, the releases are as wide as 700 to 800 screens across the US for some big-ticket Telugu movies. In fact, Indian films grossed about $170 million in the US box office in 2024 alone. And some of the titles like Bahubali 2, Pathan, RRR, Kalki, all of these have seen massive success in the US, and they have, grossed anywhere between $15 to $22 million each in the US alone. And the concern, in fact, even goes beyond just box office. It also extends to streaming platforms, if that is considered under the tariff. And industry insiders say that this could discourage platforms like Netflix, Prime Video from acquiring or even commissioning content that is aimed at the US viewers, Indian viewers in the US. And this could also have an impact on the international footprint for Indian cinema as well. And if you look at the larger context, right, even within Hollywood, production costs have been going up. And in fact, US production houses have been increasingly looking at making movies outside. US production costs, in fact, was down 26% as more film studios looked at the markets like Canada, Australia, etc. All of these, because they now offer much better in tax incentives and skilled crew to make movies. And this is probably why President Trump has made an announcement like he has. But like I said, we have to wait for the fine print, and this also marks the first time a tariff is being imposed on a service rather than a raw good. Back to you.
Well, thanks very much, Shilpa. Yes, it's tariffs being imposed on movies that are made outside of the US, and it does have an impact on movies made here in India, which then get shown in the US. So, Shilpa's talking about the fine print. We'll have to wait to see, but that's the latest in the tariff threat there from President Trump. No longer a threat, an announcement this time around. Now, the British government has stepped in to provide financial support for Jaguar and Land Rover after a cyber attack that stopped production for nearly a month. The government will underwrite a £1.5 billion loan guarantee to support the company's cash reserves and help it pay suppliers. The loan, which is from a commercial bank, will be repaid over 5 years. JLR has promised to resume operations in what it says is the coming days, without giving any specific details on what that could be. As things stand, the factories remain shut till at least the 1st of October, as per the last communication from the company. Shares of Bharat Electronics surging in trade after reports indicated that the army has issued a tender worth 30,000 crore rupees to the company. This tender will entail the procurement of the quick reaction surface-to-air missiles, air defense missile systems. The report further highlighted that the army plans to procure 5 to 6 regiments of the indigenously developed Anant Shastra weapon system. Remember, the Defence Acquisition Council had cleared the procurement proposal for this project shortly after Operation Sindoor in May. Shares of oil marketing companies up in trade today. This after Petroleum Minister Hardeep Puri pitched for higher valuations. Puri said that India's largest OMCs account for over 3% of corporate profits last year, but their market value is less than 1%. The minister also announced plans to undertake a series of reforms to make these companies more attractive. Sonal is standing by with the details. Sonal.
Well, yes, some interesting comments coming in from the oil minister when it comes to the entire oil and gas space. There's a valuation pitch where the minister says that they are looking at higher valuations for PSU oil and gas companies. And for that, they're looking at less policy interventions, high capex focus and improve profitability as well. They reaffirm stable energy prices and policy going forward. In fact, they say there'll be no future windfall taxes on any of the sector in terms of upstream and downstream, even if oil prices are volatile going forward. In terms of management remuneration, there is a performance-linked incentive, not performance by the management, but by the stock. So they say there will be a 15% pay linked to shareholder returns besides profitability of the company. And on crude sourcing, that's been the big question mark always. They say it has to be efficient and economical for the entire economy. Now let's take the valuation point forward, because there has been a pitch for higher valuations. How are the valuations trending right now versus the 5-year average? For ONGC, it is largely in line at 6.8 times, but for Indian Oil, there has been an uptick, 9.6 times now versus 7.5 earlier. For BPCL, it's 8.9 times versus 11.9 times earlier. Now do remember, it's higher as per the 5-year average because there was a bid to privatize BPCL, where that's when we saw sharp surge in stock price as well. So it has cooled off from those levels. For GAIL, it is at 11.3 times versus 9.9 times because now there is a possibility of tariff hikes coming in, which could be positive for the stock. HPCL is also higher at 7.5 times because of upcoming capex and capacity increases that the company is undertaking as well. Now remember, Nifty oil and gas market capitalization is at 30 lakh crore rupees. The PE it is trading at is 11.8 times. This is for 15 stocks together, which also has some of the private companies, and the CAGR for 10 years has been at 15.3%. What are brokerages making of this? Now, JP Morgan says that investor confidence will still take some time for this particular sector, and diesel cracks gains will lower the excise duty risk going forward. They prefer BPCL over IOCL and then HPCL. Jeffrey says that government has a preference for sticky pump prices. They don't want it to move too much. But this is a scenario which could lead to either abnormal marketing gains or abnormal marketing losses for the companies going forward. MK says that the ministry is cognizant of cross-holdings, holding company discount, which is happening across the sector, and dilution, of course, is not feasible and full divestment is not currently envisaged, but they are looking for some value unlocking, and this will be the trigger for the sector going forward.
All right, Sonal, many thanks for joining us. Now, US-based tax services and software provider Ryan has acquired majority stake in Dhruva Advisors for an undisclosed amount. As per the deal, senior leadership at Ryan will join the board of Dhruva Advisors and partners at the company and will acquire an equity in Ryan. Dinesh Kanabar, the CEO of Dhruva Advisors, will become the vice chairman of Ryan.
We continue to operate as Dhruva. The Ryan team recognizes that Dhruva is a great brand in this part of the world, and whether it is India, whether it is Middle East, whether it is Southeast Asia, will continue to operate as Dhruva. Of course, will be an affiliate of Ryan. We have been talking, Shireen, you and I, a number of times, for example, that globally tax is becoming one. So we are looking at pillar 1, pillar 2, the challenges in and around that. Your ability to provide a seamless tax service around the world is becoming very, very critical. And it is this where the partnership between Ryan and Dhruva becomes very, very more important.
We believe that the Dhruva team has built a phenomenal business across India and the Middle East. And frankly, we could not have found a better partner to help us on our ambition to have a tax services firm that can serve our clients wherever around the globe they may need us. The cultural alignment, the go-to-market alignment, and the cultural alignment of the companies are just dramatic, and we're very excited to be part of it.
And international news, Israeli forces continue to bombard Gaza, killing at least 50 Palestinians in the last 24 hours. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will meet President Trump in the Oval Office today. This follows President Trump's address at the United Nations, where he called for an end to the war in Gaza and the release of all hostages. Russia attacked cities across Ukraine with nearly 600 drones and dozens of missiles. 4 people were killed in Kyiv during the assault that lasted 12 hours. Ukrainian officials have said that the number of dead and injured was likely to rise as 1,500 across the country. Russia claimed that forces targeted the military-industrial complex of Ukraine. Moscow also said it shot down 230 Ukrainian drones in the last 24 hours. At least 4 people were killed after a gunman drove a vehicle into a Michigan church, opened fire and set the building ablaze. The gunman, identified as a 40-year-old former U.S. Marine, was later shot dead by the police in the building. The incident is being investigated as an act of targeted violence. Police said that the motive remains unclear. Up next on India Business Hour, nearly 1 million gig jobs open up as the festive season begins across India. But for many gig workers, it's longer hours, lower pay and no safety net. A special report coming up. And you can catch all of CNBC-TV18's news and updates on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X and Jio Hotstar. In national headlines, the death toll from the stampede in Tamil Nadu's Karur during actor-turned-politician Vijay's rally has risen to 41. The victims include 13 women and 9 children. Vijay's party has moved the High Court, alleging sabotage and demanded a CBI investigation. Chief Minister Stalin has said new rules will be framed for holding public events. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman visited the site and met with the injured and the families of the victims. The Kerala Assembly has unanimously passed a resolution opposing the Election Commission of India's move to conduct a special intensive revision of the electoral rolls in the state. The resolution expressed concern that the exercise could become a backdoor attempt to implement the National Population Register. It highlighted that SIR requires long-term preparation, and rushing through the process casts a shadow of doubt over the Election Commission's intentions. The resolution was moved by the Chief Minister. Elon Musk's social media platform X will challenge the Karnataka High Court's verdict upholding the government's power to order the removal of content. The company said it will move the Supreme Court to defend the freedom of expression. It's argued that the government's Sayog portal will allow the police to issue arbitrary takedown orders without due process or a hearing. As India gets into festival celebration mode, it's the gig workers who keep the festive economy moving, from deliveries to cabs to retail staff. CNBC-TV18 Shivani Bazar's reports nearly 1 million gig jobs have opened up this season, but for many, it means long hours, low pay and no safety net.
Lights, shopping and celebrations. India's festive season is here. And driving the excitement is an invisible workforce, the gig workers. From delivery riders to cab drivers and retail temps, the country sees a huge surge in demand in the festive season. Industry insiders suggest a 15 to 25% increase in gig hirings during this season over regular months. And industry bodies also suggest that nearly 1 million gig roles were created nationally for this festive season. But behind this huge number lies an unglamorous truth. Long hours, zero benefits and no guarantees at all. Here's how these workers are driving the festive economy in India and what it costs them.
ये इस हफ्ते की अर्निंग है सर 615 रुपये, 711 रुपये, 989 रुपये। ठीक है सर, इसमें फेस्टिव में कोई कुछ काम नहीं हो रहा है और 11 घंटे ऑनलाइन, 11 घंटे 2 मिनट ऐसे हम लोग काम करते हैं।
Himanshu Shukla has been a delivery partner with the food delivery platform for 3 years now and says the job takes much more than it gives.
11 घंटा काम करते हैं, उसके बाद में काम शाम को मालूम पड़ता है कि 200 रुपये का बचत हुई, 300 रुपये का। इसमें कब तक ऐसे हम लोगों का चलेगा? पूरी एनर्जी खत्म करते हैं हम लोग, धूप में रहते हैं, बारिश में रहते हैं, सब कुछ रहते हैं, पर कोई इसका वो नहीं निकला, सोल्यूशन नहीं निकल रहा है कोई।
The Indian consumers' rising affinity for convenient click-of-a-button shopping has only intensified by quick commerce craze, and the intensity of orders rises sharply during the festive season. Whether it's for last-minute shopping or for sweets and gift deliveries or from online flash sales. And the gig workers whose number Niti Aayog pegs at around 8 million are the engine that powers it all. The frequent absence of a fixed salary for most of these people, many earn per order per ride, and even that fluctuate based on the time of the day, is a sore point.
12 से 14 घंटे काम करना पड़ता है। दिक्कत ये हो रही है कि क्या नाम है, जैसे कि हम एक ही प्रोसेस में, मतलब एक ही जगह जाते हैं, बट नाइट टाइम में कुछ और चार्जेज हैं और डे में कुछ और चार्जेज हैं, उससे थोड़ा सा दिक्कत होता है। हमारे घर में भी त्यौहार है, फेस्टिव है, तो हम दिन रात इसलिए वर्किंग कर रहे हैं कि हमारा भी त्यौहार अच्छा से बने, तो इस वजह से हम यही चाहते हैं कि थोड़ा सा पैसा इंक्रीज हो।
The lack of a safety net for these workers, many of whom are racing the clock as they zig and zag through the traffic and unfamiliar roads, is another sore point, one that unions have often raised in the past. Reports suggest that less than 5% of India's gig workforce has any form of insurance or provident fund. The Code on Social Security 2020 includes provisions for gig workers, but its rollout has been slow. Meanwhile, gig platforms and state governments continue to disagree on who should bear these costs.
पूरी शरीर की एनर्जी नष्ट करने के बाद भी हमें बेनिफिट नहीं मिल पाता है। हम भी तो एक देश के नागरिक ही है ना भाई, कंपनी को हम पूरा टाइम दे रहे हैं, तो हमारे लिए भी तो कंपनी का कुछ हक बनता है। हमारा कोई हादसा हो जाता है, उस पे कंपनी का कोई रिस्पॉन्स नहीं आता है। अभी कुछ दिन पहले स्टामार्ट का एक राइडर था, वो ऑन द स्पॉट खत्म हो गया, कोई फैसिलिटी नहीं मिली हमारे लिए। हमारे लिए हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस, लाइफ इंश्योरेंस होना चाहिए।
They bring us our gifts, drive us to celebrations, and keep shops running in the busiest season in India. Yet, for gig workers, festivals often mean exhaustion, not cheer. What they're asking for is the bare minimum: health and accident insurance, festive bonuses, and better working conditions. Because if they're powering India's festive economy, shouldn't they too get to celebrate with dignity and security? In New Delhi, this is Shivan Bazaz.
Now, WhatsApp is no longer just a messaging app. In India, it's powering small businesses, payments and public services. And not just businesses, but the platform has been on the receiving end of criticism for being slower than competition rolling out new features. Rashna Dhanrajani reports that Sandhya Devanathan's Meta's head for India is busy trying to change that.
WhatsApp Business has become an integral part of India's digital economy, with about 10 million users in 2022 to 15 million users by 2024 and about 175 million daily interactions. MSMEs are the largest users by far and the fastest growing category, with WhatsApp being used to collect orders, collect payments, connect with customers in faster and a more efficient manner.
I think the journey that we've been on WhatsApp really has been for businesses has been one, finding out what customers and users want in how they talk to business. Just recently, we published some, Kantar, I think, shared these numbers. 91% of, online adults that they surveyed talk to a business on WhatsApp. So it's a pretty big trend. Whether we are there or not in terms of enabling a structured way to do it, customers and users are talking to businesses.
It's not just businesses. Even governments and institutions have found WhatsApp to be an effective tool in their hunt for efficient information dissemination and even document distribution.
Around 7 million tickets on metros are sold every month. So, in fact, I think we're hitting close to 100 million ticket run rate now annually on metro tickets sold on WhatsApp. And if you remember, this was a small pilot that started in Bangalore 3-4 years ago. So you can already see the scale at which this has happened. And we were so encouraged by that we worked with the Andhra government to launch Manamitra, which is 700 services, citizen services that are available on that chatbot, which you can access, by messaging one phone number on WhatsApp. And what you see there is, the usage has, and, the feedback we've gotten has been so encouraging. There's 4 million people that have already used it. And one of the big use cases we're seeing is education. So during the 12th board exams, 91% of the hall tickets that were given to 12th board students were on WhatsApp. So this is not things that we would have imagined were possible like 4 years ago, but are happening because Indian businesses, Indian state governments, are all innovating in terms of how they will use WhatsApp. What also excites me is the use of AI on WhatsApp. So I think as chatbots will get more and more powerful with voice, with AI-enabled services, you'll start to see truly that becoming, something where you're not just having a two-way dialogue with text, but you're able to have a conversation and get what you want right on WhatsApp.
How do they drive up revenue in the country for Meta?
So we don't publish, the India breakout numbers, but again, we're very happy to see the kind of growth that we've seen on revenue in India. And I think what makes us happier is that businesses are finding real value, and that's why they're putting their rupees with us. The global number that we've shared is that paid messaging overall on WhatsApp is expected to touch $1 billion run rate this year, and India powers a lot of that number. Is that we've sort of really taken a customer first mindset in terms of what does the consumer want and how will we enable that, and which is why if you see our payments functionality itself on WhatsApp is not just about WhatsApp Pay. You can pay using any UPI provider.
WhatsApp Pay is slowly carving out a place for itself in India's digital payments market. Following the lifting of the 100 million user cap in December 2024, monthly UPI transactions doubled to 61 million by January 2025. However, its share of India's UPI volumes remains under 0.4%, far behind leaders like PhonePe and Google Pay, which together account for over 85% of transactions. But WhatsApp is not giving up. But as businesses scale, they are starting to hit roadblocks. Criticism includes broadcast messaging being capped at 256 contacts per list, limited multi-agent workflows, and weak native automation. People also worry that with cloud storage outside India, the service lacks enterprise-grade audit trails or guaranteed compliance with India's Digital Personal Data Protection Act. For regulated sectors like finance and healthcare, this is a serious limitation. But WhatsApp says these are issues it is working to address on a war footing. Experts say it will have to work quickly given the rising threat from rivals like Telegram and Gupshup and even the newly launched Zoho Aratai. In Mumbai, I'm Rachna Dhanrajani.
And as Rachna was pointing out, Zoho's messaging app Aratai could emerge as a challenger to WhatsApp in India. The app's traffic has surged by 100 times in just 3 days, with new sign-ups jumping from 3,000 a day to 3.5 lakh a day. Aratai, which means chat in Tamil, was originally launched in 2021. It was considered an experimental project until recently. Now the app has raced to the top spot in App Store, surpassing WhatsApp in India. This comes after Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan endorsed the app, describing it as a free, easy-to-use, secure and safe application. So that's Aratai from Zoho. And with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of India Business Hour. Thanks very much for watching. The news will continue right here on CNBC-TV18. We're back in a moment with more. Stay tuned.